Welcome to temperament testing of these cute little gals. So first the tester sits down and we see if the puppy approaches the tester. And then this little exercise is to show their prey drive. Toss a ball, try and play with a toy. As you can see, Purple Girl is much more human focused than interested in the prey drive. Prey drive can have pros and cons. So what I like about prey drive, Stevie has some prey drive, is that these dogs are really good at entertaining themselves and they are excellent at retrieving. Like Stevie brings things to me. I point at something and she'll bring it to me. So there can be a good skill set. The challenges that come with prey drive are impulsivity control. Like just that hunting side of them can take over if you're out and they see a bird. And so that's where they're going to need more training. So as you can see, she really doesn't have it, so it's not going to be a concern. She just did the test for sound sensitivity, which the whole litter did amazing on this test, and we have done a ton of work. She did a good job on sight too. It's not a matter of if they don't startle one drop. I mean, that's great, and you'll see Pink actually doesn't startle one drop. But what we're really looking for is how they recover after they startle. So do they recover quickly? Purple, you'll see, recovers quickly after she startles. Gray takes a while to recover, and Pink just doesn't even startle. Now we're doing touch tolerance, and again, all the girls did really well. Purple and Gray probably have the higher touch tolerance where they actually really enjoy it, and Pink had a great touch tolerance. She was on the higher side of medium. This is what makes me question temperament testing. It's just my own personal experience. When I brought Stevie home, she was so energetic, a lot like Pink, honestly, and she was wiggling out of my arm. She didn't want to just sit and snuggle with me. And Tony was one of those pups who wanted me to snuggle and carry him everywhere and just melted into my arms. And to this day, as they've gotten older, Stevie is my snuggler. She's my Velcro dog right next to me, and I love that. Whereas Tony sure likes touch, but just for a few minutes, and then he wants to sit at the foot of the bed. He wants to be with me, absolutely, but he doesn't necessarily want a ton of touch. So it's a little tricky for me to buy into all the temperament testing stuff, and I also think a lot depends on the day and time. However, I do think it's a valuable process, like I've said before, for knowing where your pup is and where to keep working. For example, maybe if I would have continued to work on touch tolerance, it would have gotten better. Maybe Stevie's great at touch tolerance because she was my first dog and she got a lot more touch. There's a lot of possibilities there. So while you're watching this, just a little bit on the history of temperament testing. The Voltard test is the most common one, and this test is actually built off of the Voltard test. But the purpose of the Voltard test, according to Puppy Culture, was to find seeing eye dogs and guide dogs. So it really wasn't meant for placing pups in family homes. And as far as I know, this is the closest test we have to placing dogs in homes, but it's not peer-reviewed or scientifically researched. I do value the experience of breeders, and the breeder who created this is experienced not only with golden doodles, but therapy dogs. So I think that I am not going to ignore her experiences. However, the fact is it hasn't been researched and peer-reviewed. So the evidence is anecdotal, but I still think it's worthwhile to do the testing so that you can know what your pup's specific needs will be when you get your pup. So with Pink Girl here, you'll see that she is going to need to work on having direction. By the way, one of the pups peed back in this corner, so every pup stops and comes to sniff this corner, and she actually comes and pees there. So this was an issue. So for example, in marking how much energy a pup has, you kind of watch for how many times they stop. Well, Pink Girl here stopped to go to the bathroom. I'm not going to count that as her stopping her movement of curiosity. So once she's done with the pee corner, that's where I picked up on scoring again. And some of these little run-ins we had made it difficult for scoring, which is why scoring took so long. This is absolutely amazing. Watch this. Not even phased. She could care less. I mean, that's just amazing right there. I think that's a really great quality. Nose to the ground. She's really going to enjoy doing some sniffing exercises, having sniffle mats. Stevie likes to have her nose to the ground. I will just sprinkle Honey Nut Cheerios all over the backyard, and she can go and sniff them out. That's a really fun exercise for her. But I really believe if you put this little pink girl to work, give her things to do, she is just so incredibly intelligent. She catches on so quickly. I think she has amazing potential. I can't wait to see how she turns out. So I also wanted to note, while I've been doing the 10-step touch from the Badass Breeder, I'll call it the B.A.B. So it's like the B.A.B is the short name that people call it in breeding, but the 10-step touch, I also do the Puppy Culture, and it's where you touch a spot, give them a treat, touch another spot, give them a treat. And B.A.B.s is about not having too many treats. I don't agree with that because Puppy Culture is so well researched and they use treating a lot, and that's a dog's survival instinct, and we're using that. So here's this cutie pie. That last test you saw is when it's like a toddler throwing a tantrum, throwing themselves on the ground, crying, seeing how they react. This is one that can be a little confusing on the tenderheartedness. You might think like, well, I really like lots of love, so I want a tenderhearted puppy. However, a puppy who's very tenderhearted is going to be more prone to anxiety if they're around another person with anxiety. So if I am very anxious and then I bring a very tenderhearted dog into the house, we can build off of each other's anxiety, and it's not necessarily a good thing. So a dog that is not extremely tenderhearted can actually be very good emotional support dog, especially if they're right, maybe around moderate from what I understand. So you'll see that Pink Girl actually, when the ball was thrown, she retrieved it, which was awesome because retrieving is a quality that has been proven to stay as an adult. So there are very few things that have been scientifically shown to stay the same, but retrieving is one of those things. Fear is another one, but that is after 3 months. So at the 3-month mark, if your dog is fearful, then they could still be. Now, right now, I wouldn't put too much weight if I have a fearful dog because we're still in a fear period, especially week 8. Week 8 is going to be a big fear period. And so that's going to be a time where you want it to be really calm at home, really relaxed. And then at week 9, take off again with tons of socializing, tons of new experiences. So by the time you do get to that 12-week mark, the 3-month mark, that you've eliminated the potential for fear. So you'll see Gray Girl here. She is on the more apprehensive side compared to the other 2 girls. Her confidence is lower, but I think that's something that's going to be able to be worked out of her in these coming weeks. She still has a lot of great qualities. She's pretty playful. She's getting more and more playful every day. She likes to play with toys, I've noticed. And here she does, and this is where you'll see she needs to work on her sight sensitivity. She goes and hides. So that's an indicator to me. This is the other thing I like. I would go by what the breeder says more than temperament testing. That's after all my research, that would be my personal thought. You know, what is the puppy like on a day-to-day basis? However, this is really good information for me as a breeder to see this temperament testing, because to be honest, I did not realize that several dogs in the litter were struggling with sight sensitivity. So this is perfect because now I have a full week that I'm going to be able to work really hard on sight sensitivity, and I'll be able to tell the owners of those dogs to do the same. So that was another reason why temperament testing was worthwhile to me, because as a breeder, it gave me information I didn't have. But say there's a pup who regularly isn't afraid of anything and suddenly shows a random fear during temperament testing, I'm going to go more closely to what the breeder has experienced, if that makes sense. So great touch tolerance here. Something I noticed about Gray Girl is that she's playful, and then she's, you know, moderate energy. And then Purple is more like she'll get the puppy zoomies where she's running around a little crazy, but then she's extra calm and snuggly. So, but then Pink is just so darn trainable. So they all have their pros and cons, but they are just lovely. I am so happy with all the girls. Every single one of them had therapy dog written on their algorithm, and that was not the case with the boys. The fact that it is the night before puppy choosing and I still am teetering between each pup. You know, the last litter I knew exactly who I wanted. So this is just great that we have so many good choices. It's a really good sign. I'm just showing you the process of how I get stacking photos. Unfortunately, these were not at the right angle. It needs to be more straight on. It's really tricky because I need to do the stacking because I know how to get them to stand the way I want, and I'm using cream cheese here. But it's really hard to explain to someone who's never done it what angle it has to be at. So she would just have, my helper would have needed have been a little bit lower to get a better angle. But this is a good chance. And then I wetted their backs and I wetted their fronts because that poofy hair can make it difficult to see the real lines. But this is the last thing on my list to get structural evaluations. And let me make that final decision now that I have everything on paper from the testing. And this is the tricky part. There's so many things that you can't officially do until 7.5 weeks. And it has just been so hard to wait to know for sure. And I know it's been hard on everyone to wait, but this is the way that you get the best of your breeding dogs. This little girl, see, I needed to pull, her feet needed to be back farther. So that's why this photo didn't work out for the evaluator. Her feet need to be back so that her hocks are like straight up and down. And you want to be able to see the reach a lot better than you can here. You can see her front angles nicely here. I think I'm going to get them completely wet. You can see even better that way. The good thing is I don't see any significant structural flaws on these pups. A couple of them, like Purple here, she has a little straighter front angulation. It's really common because that's a poodle trait, so it's going to go 50-50 on every dog. However, we do want to work for that 90-degree angle. It takes time. It takes generations. There, I tried to show you kind of with my finger what I'm talking about. I'm not going to edit this one perfectly because I know it's getting later on the East Coast and I want this video to be sent off in time for my buyers. Here we go. So we're getting her legs back. See how it's kind of nice and straight. The cream cheese, you want them to, once you get them in position, this was the mistake I was making with Purple, is I was putting the cream cheese back too far. You want to stretch out their necks so that they move forward a little bit. and it gives them nicer angles. And it takes time to train a puppy to do this, but these puppies are actually really doing amazing, and it's because of the work we've done with clicker training already. Well, we'll wrap it up here. Thank you so much for watching. I'll get some new structure pictures tomorrow. We'll let you know first thing who's been chosen so you can know what to plan on. We're so excited. Have a great night. Bye.